How are we doing, Connor? We're all good, mate. You have to bear with me, really. I've just got back from the gym myself. What I thought I'd do is just quickly put something together, just with the footage that you've sent over. This is going to be the first time, other than just briefly looking at it on Instagram. And basically, this is the kind of video you would get weekly, if needed. Most people are getting one weekly, or sometimes two a week. And then I'll just quickly sort of like show you through what a program looks like and kind of what we'd be doing. But just to kind of, again, for me to have a look at this and just kind of digest what I think we can do, what I think we could would tidy up really going forward. So again, this one I haven't seen yet, so it would be interesting to kind of see where you're at. Okay, so overall, the squat I can see why the squat is relatively good compared to the deadlift. Bar path's pretty straight. You don't have a huge forward knee travel, which is pretty good. There's definitely a lot we could work on in terms of getting your bracing a bit more thorough. You can see there's breathing going on, but it's puffing up the chest at the moment. Okay, so what I would be looking for is in and around here. I'll be looking for I really want to see the bracing sort of like in and around this area. I really want to see here pump out. It'd be interesting to get a bit of footage from the front of like looking straight at you, just to see what's going on with the knees. And these look like they're a little bit caving at the moment, nothing crazy. But the important one for you is, in general, I mean, the camera angle's a little off, but the important one for you is you generally keep a pretty straight bar path, which is, all the other things add an extra kilo or two. Okay, so yeah, a little bit, that one pitched over a little bit. Okay, so that last one is actually a perfect example of the actual bar path on the way down being perfectly straight, but because the bracing wasn't quite there. So like if you look where you are in that bottom position, awesome, yeah, that's where we want you. But because the bracing isn't right and the upper back hasn't been built in and really got some tension in it, you roll forward a little bit. So as you come out, pitches it forward in front of that line, and that's where you have a little bit of a trouble getting out of there. But there's the squat is going to be tidy ups, rather than any kind of major overhaul, because the actual squat mechanics are there really. Right, and we're getting straight in. So with a deadlift, okay, there's ones in here that you're going to know. Obviously the mid back cave. Don't really get to see the actual setup before this, but obviously the upper back rounding isn't ideal. But again, this is just sort of like trimming kilos here and there. And then hips come through a tad early, but all that the deadlift looks like really is your deadlift is very much a pull. You grab the bar and you pull it off the floor, and the hips just kind of do whatever they can to finish off the movement. Whereas we'll sort of break it right down, and we'll get you pushing the bar a lot more, pushing the floor rather than pulling the bar quite so much. But basically, like the strength's there. Like look how quickly that move, sort of like, in spite of the upper back being a little bit rounded and a little bit inefficient. So again, just for you, there's a hell of a lot of room in there. Jesus, I mean, like, even keeping that exact technique, there's a lot of room to breathe. A lot. Let's have a look. Okay, the bench is going to be quite difficult. There's a lot of arms and there's a lot of people. So not bad, actually. Whether you know you're doing it or not, you do get a little bit of leg drive in there. Just onto the chest, it was just a little bit wobbly. So you'll see sort of like just before you get the press command, the bar is moving a little bit. And it's a very straight bar path. So it's kind of like when it's on your chest, generally what we'll look to do is we'll look to get you sort of like more in a like a crescent kind of shape. We'll look to get you to drive back towards the rack, whereas at the moment it's straight up, and I mean, like, it works. It's doing a job. But that one, basically, what we'll focus on is, once the bar's on the chest, giving yourself the most stable platform to actually apply some pressure. Whereas, it's kind of like, imagine deadlifting when the floor's like a little bit shaky underneath you. You just can't quite put that power down. Bench is always the one that takes the longest to kind of budge. And you're sort of like right on the limit with weight classes and stuff like that. So we'll have to kind of play around, and we'll have a talk. We'll have a talk about what you want. I mean, I'm always a fan of people trying to go up weight classes, particularly for beginners. I'm not really a fan of this like constantly cut down. At the end of the day, muscle moves weight. You know, and you know, you're not an old guy. You've got all the room in the world to be packing on some decent muscle, get some volume in there. I think that's, you know, like everybody knows that bodybuilder that's never been interested in powerlifting at all, but they're just fucking strong. It's kind of that. I would rather have someone with just an excess of muscle mass that they could just fucking go for it. You know what I mean? Even if their technique does get a little wobbly, they've just got the oomph to kind of get through, rather than these people who are just like diced to the bone. They're trying to get lighter and lighter. And 1% of their technique goes wobbly, and the lift is missed. The squat, we've already been through that, pretty solid. So just a quick little example of kind of what. So this is Mel's program. I'm sure she doesn't mind me showing you. Basically, this is how your program would be delivered. I deliver 2 weeks at a time. I find weekly. There gets a lot of timing issues sometimes with if clients haven't sent feedback and stuff like that. And also, it means I have to be available at certain times every single week. So 2 weeks works out pretty well. I do one of these videos every week if it's needed. Most people get at least one a week, and sometimes two. You'll get your exercise, your sets, your reps, your RPEs, or percent intensity. So for the first kind of month or so would just be kind of a discovery block, if you want to call it like that. Okay, just finding out what works for you, sort of roughly where your rep ranges are and stuff like that. And then over time, stuff like these custom RPE charts begin to populate themselves. So this is, you know, if I tell Mel to go and hit 3 reps at an 8, she knows it's around 105. The program's already auto-populated for her, so she knows roughly what she's got to hit, and then can go from there. If your deadlift's 200, your 3 reps at an 8 will auto-populate for you, okay? Because we've done the information gathering for, you know, those few weeks prior. So yeah, be kind of set up like that. It's all done through Dropbox. You fill it in, I see it. I make any changes, you see it straight away. It just works better. And then basically, this is someone else's dashboard. This one isn't overly kind of flushed out at the moment, but basically we'll have a dashboard set up in the background, and we can just sort of like keep trends of how your maxes are dropping or raising. So say like here, for example, we push the volume a little bit on her. So we pushed her up to more sets per week on the bench, and it had a, you know, the estimated 1 rep max drop down a little bit. Her session RPE went from a 5 to a 6.5. So we make adjustments. We drop the volume down. Okay, it's just stuff like that. It gives you an idea of sort of like where we're going, and as things are filled out, if the session RPEs start creeping up, then we make adjustments. Okay, so let's just say deadlift, for example, session RPE went up because with the increase in volume, we went from 10 deadlift sets a week to 12. Her session RPE got harder, but her max responded accordingly. Awesome, you know. So it's the dashboard populates over time, and the more we do it, the longer you spend, the more kind of fleshed out we get with it. But that's it in a nutshell, man. I mean, if it's something you're happy to go ahead with, let me know. We can either arrange like a Skype call or something, or we can just chat over WhatsApp if it's easier. Just get a better idea for where we're at. I'll send over what I think is going to be best for us to get started for those initial 2 weeks. Like I said, the first 4 weeks are generally a lot of information gathering. Excuse me. Then we've got plenty of time up to November to really put some structure together. Just keep you high volume, really, for me, as long as possible. Just try and pack on some size, and then we fine tune it. We just trim the fat right towards the end. But let me know what you think, man. Like I said, you'll be getting one of these every week, and we'll break things down a little more in terms of the form. But it's good, man. Yeah, looking forward to it.